word. But yeah. So, and so what you were saying, Curtis, like you didn't say anything that was like false. I don't believe you didn't say anything that I wholeheartedly disagree with. Um, I would say in a modern society, women also stand to ben. Well, okay, let's take very archaic divorce procedurals out of the way, and like women getting away with robbing men blind, more or less. Let's take that whole factor out of the equation. If you take that out of the equation and that what and they stand and then that thing they stand to gain, what does a woman usually get out of the equation? And I would argue also very little. Like you said, women are hypergamous by nature, so they've kind of by law restricted themselves to one partner, and like we live in a very large world, so chances that that partner is the most ideal of the species is slim to none. So they've tied themselves down. We also live, like I said, in the patriarchal society. So so patriarchal society, for anyone who just is a normal human being who has saved themselves from all this fucking bullshit, is a society built for and by men. It's a society where men are the leading sex in mind for almost every job, occupation, and benefit that the society has to offer, and they reap most of the reward. That's a hyperbolic definition. That's what I think most SJWs have to think, but that's a straw man, and I know I'm being hyperbolic, and I'm open to being proven wrong, but that's a podcast for a whole other day. But in a society like that, the woman is basically in the one of the traditions and cultures of a society like that is a woman is basically making her subservient to the man, because like we even in our colloquial terms, we just like when we're addressing a same-sex couple, one of the things that most heteronormative people say is like, who's the man in the relationship, which is who's the person in charge. And that's so permeated throughout the zeitgeist in our culture that that's something that's just inherent to relationships. Hashtag not all, of course, but it's just like that's another thing. So when you've basically put on that ring, just as much as it is a shackle for men, it's a shackle for women as well. So also, I would also attest that women also have very little to gain from marriage, and just like a man stands to lose a lot from the divorce procedural, like how many spousal homicides are on the woman's end? Far fewer than on their man's most of the time. So not only like just you're putting your trust in this person. Like women on average are usually smaller and weaker. Controversial statement. I know it's gonna piss a lot of people off, but but again, hashtag not all. That's not always the case, but like 95% of the time it is. So, and they have to trust that this person won't snap one day and like break their neck. It's something that they have to do, and it's very frightening. And it's something that I think we also have to consider when it comes to like the whole institution of marriage and who stands to gain from what. So, in that regard, I would ask, what are your thoughts on this?
Still me again? Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. So, oh no. Repeat that question again.
like, what are your thoughts on this? Like, we live in this, and even though I said we live in a patriarchal society, we're moving more and more close to egalitarianism. Like, there is almost nothing a man can do that a woman can't do in our society. Like, she can get the same jobs. And as we've discussed, one of the things that we love discussing, like, because, screw feminism, because they're either bad faith actors or just disingenuous, because one of the things the statistics clearly show us is that women who are basically the same as their male counterparts, we're talking about religion, sexual orientation, economic background, education, all that, who are the same as their male counterparts on all those counts, are like up until the age of 35 are actually paid more by and large by their employers. And it's only after the age of 35, it's because you can normally assume it's because of child rearing. So man is socialized to work more hours for their family. Woman isn't. The second shift, blah, blah, blah. Those sort of factors. That's what we know. So it's almost more beneficial for her to stay single and not have to worry about children, so she can focus on her money. So like it also seems like there's very little to gain for a woman to get married. So like I said, I pass it on to you. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's going to be that self-improvement aspect to it where you can pour all your energy into yourself and live a good life that way and be happy by yourself. And I think a lot of the younger, the Generation Z is starting to see that as well, because a lot of the younger singles are not even dating. So it's the whole process is stopped cold on both ends. And I just think that's, it's pretty dismal looking at it. If you really think about it, it's like,
Yeah, my thing
why did
is, I think you're right. Marriage doesn't make sense anymore. But I think it was Jordan Peterson who said something like he was just like, and it's fine that we've outgrown marriage, but we need a replacement. Like that's just
Mhm.
that goes without saying, because
Yeah.
we've already seen the effects of single parent households on child rearing.
Mhm.
It's not great. It's not good for several different communities. Everyone here is at least partially African American, and we can probably attest to that just from doing the research of our own communities. So it's if it doesn't it like it's okay if we can all agree, like, doesn't matter what your gender, race, or sexual orientation is, that marriage has outgrown its usefulness in our modern society. But the thing is, it needs a replacement. We can't not have an institution where we have two people who are preparing the next generation in tandem with the society. Like, we need something for that.
Mhm. Absolutely. You know, whole country is based on the family structure.
Yeah,
Now it's starting. You're losing one leg on the tripod. It's
exactly.
crumbling. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So
frustrating, man.
then that's a pretty good stopping point. And stop